This is Jack Fishman behind the camera talking with Ertan Torgul. Ertan, you're playing the Piazzolla Four Seasons of Buenos Aires as the soloist with the San Antonio Symphony Friday, Saturday at the Majestic Theater, and we just did Friday night, we're at intermission here, and Sunday at 4 o'clock at Ronald Reagan High School. Tell us about the Four Seasons of Buenos Aires.
Oh, it's a fantastic piece. We've been wanting to do this for a very long time, and since the recording came out in 97 or 8 by Gideon Kramer and his orchestra, Kramerata Baltica, and they did such a fantastic job. I wanted to play it ever since then, but you couldn't get the music. I called all the publishers that I could think of, all the Argentinian publishers, all the European publishers, and it wasn't published for a long time. So once it came out, though, everybody jumped on it, of course, and everybody's been playing it since then. So I'm glad we finally get to do it.
Now, you do quite a bit of tango in the off-season. Tell us about your tango orchestra.
I do. I have a great tango quintet, and in California mainly, but we do the original versions of these. Porteñas or the whatever the seasons, and it's a lot of fun to sort of take some of that energy and put it into this sort of more classical version of it. And I did a little bit more than I think Mr. Kramer did as far as sort of improvising or fooling around, as we should say, in the slower sections on the piece, and that's sort of how they play it in more Argentinian styles.
Well, how did you become interested in the tango style?
I don't know. You know, I always felt like I must have been in another life some Argentinian guy who danced, because every time I heard it, I just felt like my blood started boiling, and I always wanted to learn to dance, and after I heard Piazzolla, that was it. I just had to play it. Thank God I have some great friends, great players, that I can do that with.
And this piece, in addition to obviously some virtuosic passages, has some unusual effects for string instruments.
Yes.
What are they?
Well, it comes from the original quintet version, actually. All the musicians contribute to otherwise would be more empty sections. They contribute with more percussive sort of elements. Because there's no percussion involved in the regular versions of these, and so they add scratches, and they'll add these pizzicatos with, you know, that sounds like snare drum, and a lot of sort of whips, they call it, you know, a lot of notes that go up, and a lot of tapping on the instruments, which we don't have that in this piece as much, but we have all the other stuff.
Now, the other thing I noticed, that there's a tremendous amount of sliding about.
Yes.
Glissando, as we call it in classical music. Is that Ertan deciding to slide, or is that Piazzolla telling you to slide?
It's Piazzolla telling us to slide. It's really interesting because his background was so varied. He started out as an arranger for jazz pieces. So he has a jazz background. He has a pop background, he has a classical background, he certainly has a tango background. So he wanted to combine all of these things into his music, and when he did all these sort of beautiful melodies that he writes, he improvises. He can't, of course, on bandoneon, he can't slide, but when the violin takes over, all of a sudden it turns into sort of like a Jean-Luc Ponty kind of situation where you're just sliding up and down and creating more sort of jazzy, popsy kind of atmosphere. So he is dictating the style, and we're trying to follow it, I guess.
Now, you've played traditional classical concertos with this orchestra several times. Is this harder or easier?
That's interesting. I would say just as hard, maybe. I mean, you know, classical concertos are very difficult. They're very well known, and you know, you really have to sort of stay true to certain parameters. And with this one, you don't necessarily have that, but you also don't want it to sound too cheesy, really. I mean, you want it to sound still legitimate, so you can't do too much. And the virtuosic stuff, of course, it's not a Brahms concerto, let's put it that way. Brahms concerto is obviously one of the most difficult pieces for violin, but it has certain aspects. If you don't know how to do some of this stuff, it actually could be very difficult for a player. So you have to kind of do a little research and and enjoy doing.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Well, the audience response tonight, which this is Friday night, of course, was just fabulous. I think people enjoyed both the flashy virtuosic, the atmospheric melodies, and also just the rhythm and style.
Right.
They clearly were just thoroughly enjoying it.
Right. That's just the rhythm. Just keeps people going. I told them to get up and dance, but I didn't see anybody dancing.
That doesn't happen often at the
No,
symphony.
not really.
It should have tonight. Anyway, the further opportunities are Saturday at the Majestic at 8 o'clock and Sunday at Ronald Reagan High School at 4 p.m.
Yes.
Congratulations on a great performance, and looking forward to hearing it again tomorrow night.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.